Welcome to an exploration of the world's greatest mystery. Over the next several minutes, we will examine what this ancient linen cloth that is over 14 feet long and 3.5 feet wide can tell us about Jesus. The shroud has been kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy since 1578. So that is why it is called the Shroud of Turin. Shroud is a word that means burial cloth. This shroud has been venerated for centuries as the actual burial cloth of Jesus. But can we conclude that the man it wrapped really was Jesus? Let's examine this mysterious fabric in more detail to understand its origins, and then ask, what does the man of the shroud mean to me? The enormous size and complicated 3/1 herringbone weave made the linen fabric extremely valuable. The fabric was once white but has yellowed with time. When we investigate the shroud's history, we know that it has survived multiple fires that left burn holes and scorch marks that, when folded, are repeated across the fabric. It is blood-soaked, water-stained, burned and patched, but most importantly, it holds the very mysterious image of a man who has been scourged, crowned with thorns, crucified, and pierced in the side. When viewed with the naked eye, the image is indistinct, but the blood stains have retained their bright red color. The image is a full-body depiction of the front and back of a man. The body was laid on one end of the cloth, and the linen fabric was brought over his head. The back of the head is just to the right of the center of the cloth. Extending to the right side of the cloth is the wounded back covered in scourge marks. Then we look to the right to see the back of the blood-stained feet. Traveling to the left of center, the face appears. Then we see towards the middle of the body, the pierced side. Just to the right, there is the arms crossed over the pelvis. Finally, all the way to the left, you can clearly see the tops of the feet. The history and travels of the shroud before the middle of the 14th century are still being actively investigated by historians. The first documented exhibition of the shroud occurred in a French village in the early 1350s. The modern history of the shroud began in 1898, when the shroud was photographed for the first time by an amateur Italian photographer. Secondo Pier was completely shocked when he developed the first images of the face of the man of the shroud, instead of the shadowy, indistinct image he was expecting. The photographic negative image was a surprisingly realistic and lifelike image. The shroud's photographic negative appeared to be a positive image revealing much greater clarity and detail than seen with the naked eye. The unexpected discovery of the photographic negative electrified the scientific community. Scientists around the world from multiple disciplines began to study the shroud and its mysterious image. Due to this intense scrutiny, the shroud has earned the nickname, the most studied artifact in history. Forensic doctors studied the shroud to understand the methods the Romans used for crucifixion. Botanists studied pollen grains removed from the weave of the fabric to document the travels of the shroud. Art historians charted the image of Jesus in iconography and sacred art that were inspired by the shroud face. In 1976, a connection between the distance the body was from the fabric and the intensity of the image was discovered. Areas of the fabric that touched the body were darker. Areas further away from the body were in fact lighter. Using modern scientific tools, the scientists were able to create a lifelike three-dimensional figure of the man of the shroud. Just like with the discovery of the photographic negative, this new discovery of the 3D characteristics was so surprising and unprecedented that an entire research team was formed in 1978, called the Shroud of Turin Research Project, or STURP. After 3 years of study to understand how the image was formed, the team published its results. They determined that the fabric contains no pigments, paints, dyes, or stains. They also concluded the shroud image is that of a real human form of a scourged, crucified man. It is not the product of an artist. The image is an ongoing mystery. For the faithful, the most intriguing aspect of the shroud is that it is a mirror of the gospel. The wounds depicted on the shroud correspond exactly to the gospel narratives of the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus. Pope Benedict called the shroud a gospel written in blood because it vividly depicts the tortures and execution of Jesus described in the gospel narratives. It also documents the split second before Jesus opened his eyes to resurrected new life. The empty linen shroud, discovered in the tomb on Easter morning, was completely undisturbed. The body simply disappeared and the cloth collapsed. Scientists hypothesize that the image was made when a very sudden and intense bright light was emitted from the body itself. This caused a chemical change on the surface of the fibers of the linen, creating this completely unique and mysterious image. The shroud invites skeptics and believers alike to probe and study and question, to use the tools of science to try to understand this mysterious image and to ponder its significance. The Shroud of Turin is the world's greatest mystery. Perhaps it is the natural result of a supernatural event, or maybe it is something else altogether. We invite you to further explore and decide for yourself, who is the man of the shroud?